give it just a second here and we should be streaming in just a minute.
Okay, so everybody but Jan.
Yes. And then Janine has to leave at 10:30.
Right. Thank you. Sorry.
Nope, no worries.
Okay, says we're live on YouTube.
Yep, and that is true. Okay, we're good. It's all up and running.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Alex, you're first up.
Morning. Apologies on being a little bit late.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Alex. When I was like, Alex usually is here early, and I went, uh-oh. I remember now that I forgot to send him the link when I sent it out yesterday. I apologize.
Not a problem. I have a updated floor plan, and then I have a series of 3D views to show the board. I can send all of this information to you after this meeting so you have copies of it. And Gina, you'll be able to use those 3D views. I know Greg was wanting to use some of them for marketing efforts.
Yes, please.
Yep. This floor plan is relatively unchanged. The design that you saw in the past is almost the same design we have now. There's just a lot more information inside of that box. There's lots of little tweaks along the way, but almost no big picture changes since design development. This is mostly to show you a representation of that. Floor plan is just there for reference. The first view that we wanted to show was the front of the building. Again, that matches what we've done before. A little bit of changes on materials. We had talked about stone beneath. As we've worked on this project, we've found that we just can't afford it. It takes us above our project budget too much. What we've come back with is split face CMU block so that you still have a rough surface. It's still as close as we can get to stone without being stone. Any questions or comments on that front? Okay. View of that back, just kind of showing that patio. Forgive me, there's railings along here that you can't see, but the patio space has been retained. The drive-through overhang, it's been tweaked. We've brought it down considerably. The vertical clearance we had before were for box trucks, and that's not necessary anymore. So we're in a much better spot. Anything on that back?
Alex, I'm assuming that's not the color of it, correct?
Correct. No,
Okay.
no, none of this is color. The amount of time it would take to generate a color rendering, it's just not possible.
Yeah, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
And
no, we
I'm
always
also
make the joke. It's museum quality, very whitewashed.
I'm also
And in the desert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it.
I also wonder what is on the other side of the drive-through that's sticking out.
Sure. That is, and you can kind of see that on the floor plan. That's the fencing around the HVAC units that are here. That giant HVAC unit, we've got an 8-foot fence. So that will be a wood privacy fence there.
Okay. And there's plenty of clearance because from this angle, it looks really tight.
Correct. It's still all of the same turning radius we had before. The curb is actually further out here than you see. So we've still got the turning radius that we wanted.
Okay.
Yep. Starting to move inside. Oh, come on. The view of the patio from the children's area. Just kind of that last transition space between indoor and outdoor. The planter along that back. And then kind of jumping to the front of the building. This is from the coffee bar looking towards the entry. We've got a little spot for the vending machines, countertop for the coffee machine that's going to be there, entryway. And this room should be relatively bright, lots of natural light because it's southern exposure. Furniture out here for gathering and relaxing. Feel free to jump in at any point. I'm just kind of going through all of these views. Stop me whenever you'd like.
Okay.
Jumping into the community room, this is the Inspiration Kitchen. We've gone through a couple iterations on that and simplified it considerably. There's a cooktop on this countertop that it's not being shown, but it's very simple back bar. Greg has some great ideas on how to put logos and signage on this to play it up and make it something special, but not to be distracting in camera views. Jumping to the door into the library from just inside the lobby. We've got that ceiling vault and then those acoustical panels that go from the front door all the way to the circulation desk. Kind of that homage to the Barry Lawrence logo and all of that pulling you towards the circulation desk. What I would say, and we've been over this with Gina and Joyce, these are the bookshelves. So in our model, they're big blocky forms that you can't see through, but in reality, there's a lot more transparency to those shelves than what is shown here. Jumping to a view, come on, of that circulation desk further down. We kind of pushed the circulation desk point out, almost like the prow of a ship, again, playing off of that connection to the front door, and added 2 more workstations. So this is 4 working stations, 1 on the west, 2 in the middle, and then 1 on the east. We worked through a large television behind the librarians to project the logo or announcements or video or something, but to do that with the television. And then my favorite is the view from the circulation desk back to the entryway. And it kind of starts to show all of the concepts that we've been working for. The front door connection to the circulation desk, the view down the stacks areas for visual supervision, the colors, all of those things. So that was kind of exciting. This is the view of the circulation desk from the supervisor's office. If this camera was moved back about 6 inches, it'd be inside that window. But it allows them from that particular view to monitor a pretty good portion of the library, including teens. View from the circulation desk down the computer bar area. What we ended up doing was kicking all of those computer bars on an angle to face circulation desk. We liked the fin wall idea to separate users and patrons, but we ended up changing a portion of that wall to a glass panel that allows people at the circulation desk better supervision of what's going on at the computer stations while still separating patrons. Jumping to this is probably one of the biggest divergences from concept on 2019 to now. We were trying to get those workstations around the columns to work, but it just doesn't work with our floor plan because we would lose shelving units if we put a countertop all the way around it. What we ended up coming to was 1 sitting and 1 standing public access computer. And then this wall surface protects just a little bit of space on the opposite side for a bench for seating inside the stacks areas. We've got, jumping over to the teens area, so looking south. This is a series of booths and then a laptop bar. This is a 4-top, and then this is a 2-top and a 2-top bar seating area, or sorry, diner seating area. This laptop bar is the sitting laptop bar. We changed and tweaked that a little bit so that there's 1 sitting and 1 standing. We kind of like the stepped appearance of those booths and the ability to, you can kind of see it right here. This piece right here would be a book shelving unit. So books separating each one of those booths. And then one of the ideas from Gina and Joyce was to vary the number of seats.
And there are tables in the middle of that. They're not
Yes.
shown on that because that's furniture, but each one of those booths has a table that sits in the middle of it. So it's not just booths facing each other.
Correct. Yeah.
Not like a train.
Yeah.
Uh, Jumping kind of to the end where we were just looking and then looking north, this is the activity zone in the teen area. So they've got the television on the north wall, and then this space for kind of soft seating. What we
Yes.
came up with, the furniture designer, was let's make this modular is the wrong term, but it kind of evokes the idea that move it around and rearrange it so you can do television or activity space or any of those things.
And we're not going to have those end short shelves now, right?
We left that up to Demco to figure out, depending on the furniture that they
Okay.
come up with. The more I've looked at it, the more sure I am that they're probably going to go away, just because it gives us more flexibility in that space. Again, still in that teen area, looking over to the book sales and then the circulation desk. This is the standing laptop bar area. We've got that looking into book sales. This half height wall, we'll be able to put furniture on the opposite side of it inside of the book sales area. That allows people to pick up a book for sale, sit down, read it. Maybe they figure out they want it, or just to sit there.
And when we say book sales, we're talking about used books like we sell out front here in the lobby right now.
Yep.
Not a bookstore.
Yeah, we're not
thing.
retail.
Yeah.
So that space above the countertop is open, like a window?
Correct. So
Okay.
we're looking at this laptop bar right here. You can kind of tell that half height wall there. So these are actually connected.
We wanted the people at the desk to be able to see through into the area.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Right. It also allows people from the circulation desk to see who's at this station.
Yeah.
Also, one of my favorites, the view of the adult reading area. We just finished the custom design of the shelving units here. This will get infilled with probably soft seating furniture, maybe some small coffee table-esque kind of elements. This section right here and what you can't see off to the right would be display cases, so lockable display cases that allow community members or display of books or other things that are a little valuable. And then these open shelves just allow for open face books or art that's maybe not a theft risk. And then casework underneath for the storage of all those materials, rotating collections, the shelves that aren't being used above. And then I think probably one of the most anticipated spaces, which is why I left it for last, is the children's area. This is a view from the front door looking inward. We've got the children's computer area, house-shaped benches, kind of those wall seating elements we talked about early on. We've wrapped the structural columns with a wood-shaped tapered kind of tree trunk. And then we've abstracted some branches to come out and carry acoustical panels shaped like leaves. So we've kind of created somewhat geometric, somewhat cartoony trees in that children's area. And then these countertops become activity zones and a space to put the children's PAC. You can kind of see that house object in the back, and I'll come to that last, but kind of turning 180 degrees is the children's circulation desk. And I apologize that I don't have a better way of visualizing this. I'm going to have to, what we joke about in our office is talkitecture. I can only give you words on what's supposed to be here. This column right here, we're actually going to go find a real tree, cut it down, strip it of its bark, and then use the tree trunk to wrap this column, and then have a series of branches that have also been stripped of their bark come out from that tree and create a ceiling element. So you've got that tree kind of reaching out over the desk. To the left, again, you can't see this, but the cabinetry, and then there's going to be a fairly colorful backsplash. We think the combination of the tree and the bright colors of that backsplash are going to be part of the vibrancy and the excitement generated by this space. And
And
then
the tree, the whole purpose for that tree was to give us an area that we can actually hang things on. We can
Mhm.
display children's art. We can display, any type of handouts. Anything like that can be hung from those branches because they're high enough that you can see them, but the children can't reach them. But it's
Right.
it's kind of a display thing too, but it really draws their attention.
Yeah, sounds great.
and then shelving unit for holds. There's one on the circulation desk as well, the adult circulation desk. And then the last image is the reading house kind of in that corner. We scaled it back. We took the built-in shelving out of it and we've left it spaced out. There's some cross members there for structure that aren't being shown, but in between those kind of structural ribs will be face displayed book units. What was it? Gina, you had a very specific term for.
There will be browsing bins.
Yep.
We know that kids like to see face out books. And so the browsing bins will face those books out. And then we also plan in that area to put like a rocking chair so a parent could sit and read to their child, and then some type of real comfortable seating, because we want to encourage kids to come in, and if they want to lay on the floor or sit in a chair, then they've got some kind of space for that. So
And again, some talkitecture, because I can't show it to you. There will be pendant light fixtures that hang down from the ceiling in between those ribs. We think that'll be a pretty cool feature and touch as well. And that is the end of the presentation. I can go to any image you guys want to see.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see all those exterior windows letting in a lot of natural light,
Right.
but glass is not a good insulator. Are they double pane windows?
Yes, they are double pane.
Okay.
We
good.
just picked rather than go technical, there's a very specific product that we use for most projects that split the difference between cost efficiency and energy efficiency.
Good.
Yeah. All of these southern windows, so all of the windows, exterior windows in children's will have shades. And then all of the windows in the coffee bar will have shades. The rest of the windows in the facility are either east facing, right underneath roof overhang, north facing where we don't need shades, or underneath the patio where they don't need shades. So they're the only locations that we have to put them.
Alex, this is so exciting to see. And I'm so excited about the children's area. That looks awesome.
Thank
It
you.
does.
the little house things that are on the left there, those will just be like little nooks for the kids to climb up into and read or lounge in. And then we'll have different kinds of flooring planned. So this is one of the only rooms that I think there's only 2 rooms where we'll have carpet.
Yep.
And so out there in the middle where the house is and the trees are, that'll be the the story time area.
Yep.
So once we can ever decide on the carpet that goes there, it'll be that part will be carpeted, and then in the house, because we want it to be comfortable to lay on, that'll be carpeted. And I think that's the 2 carpet areas, right, Alex?
Yes, and then there's kind of some flooring change. It's still LVT or vinyl, not the sheet good, but over by the door, over by the circulation desk.
And on that corner wall.
Right here
Yeah.
next to those shelves. So yeah, it looks plain, but the flooring will be doing something as well.
And then we've been talking to Demco, and this room will have more color in it than the other parts of the library. So we'll bring a lot of color in with furniture. So they have some really cool products that I think you're going to like. And then the angled shelving that's towards the windows to the back there, and then the shelving that runs perpendicular, all those will be on casters. So if we have a bigger program, we can move them out of the way. So we're kind of excited. We've not done that
Yeah,
before
we've probably spent more time on the children's area
than any.
than most of the rest of the building because we've never, ever had the opportunity to actually design a children's area specifically for them. You know, it's not just a corner we're putting them in. We're not wedging them in between some shelves. They actually have an area for themselves, and we've never had that opportunity before. So we've spent a lot of time. I mean, we're still not through with it by any means, but it's that kind of gives you what the concept is. But they're going to have an area that we've never been able to provide anywhere.
And on the wall in the corner where I think we're calling the activity center, we are planning to put manipulatives on the walls. So, you know, those little things that you can move, move
They're little
beads
activity
around or
things,
whatever.
but you
So
can't take them off. They're not loose pieces, so small
Right.
children can't, you know, get them in their mouths or anything. But they're bright and they're colorful and they're all different shapes and sizes, and kids love them. You know, we're looking at probably some, train tables, some things like that that kids can, like in Aurora, they have a train set table, and the kids love that. I mean, they just spend so much time on these activity centers. So we're hoping that, we'll be able to provide a lot of things that we've never ever had the chance to do.
I told Alex, and when we were meeting with Demco, that we want this to be a space where the kids are so excited they just can't hardly wait to be in this room. And so that's sort of the plan, is to make it different zones, but a fun place for kids to come and play or read or
And it's
whatever.
it's a safe area because it is a specific designated room area. So it's monitored. There will always be a children's librarian in there. The children's restroom is right there by the CERT, right down from the CERT desk. That's all, things that we can monitor. We're no longer having kids sitting in front of a public restroom and things like that. It's all a really safe area that, if the parents aren't necessarily with them all the time, we're not babysitters, but on the other hand, we can monitor the comings and goings, and you can definitely limit who comes in there.
And there's glass doors coming in.
Yeah.
There's glass windows where there on the left. Oops, there's the glass doors. So you can see into this room from there. And then also you'll be able to see into there from the patio. So there's a lot of visibility. So parents can, monitor their kids if they're not actually in the room with them. So I think it'll be a good thing. We anticipate lots of kids because this neighborhood has many, many more children. And then with the school right there, I'm thinking we're going to get slammed after school. So I'm hoping we're going to be slammed after school. So,
Well, I think the parents and children are going to love it. They're not going to want to leave.
that's what I hope. Absolutely.
It
I
looks
hope that-
awesome.
I hope that we have to double the hours that we have. So I think we'll see evening activity that we've not really had in a long time. So
Looks great.
Tell me more about the interior colors. You said you were going to have it very colorful.
we're looking at, you want to pull those
Right.
two
You can't really tell.
here.
I mean, you have to understand that a lot of the colors are background colors. In the children's area, so much of the color is going to be brought in by the furniture. We're going to actually use some shelving that are different colors. And we've never done that in another branch, but that'll be the only shelving we own anywhere that isn't the putty color that matches everybody else, every other branch, because we have the opportunity to do it. And you can bring a lot of color in with those furnishings. So a lot of the colors we're looking at are going to be their background colors more than the first thing you look at.
This is some samples that Alex sent us, and this is the LVT plank flooring. And the flooring will not all be this color.
That's
It's just,
blue?
yeah,
Is it
blue and this green.
Oh,
It'll
Yeah.
be, like, I'm sure you've seen in schools or hospitals or whatever, going down a hallway, and they'll just have pops of color.
mhm.
So this will be in 3 different sections
Right.
where they'll just use pieces of this.
So the
So-
flooring is mostly a wood grain. And then you might take 1 or 2 planks out in a kind of random pattern and add that color. So there's a variation or a definition of space, but it's not smack you in the face blue. It's okay, well, that's the blue zone over there that is that shape. And then there's the green zone over here. And it's none of it is intended to be overwhelming.
Okay.
And then
As
this is
far as,
the
Yep.
tile for behind the sink area.
yep. So that's,
They're
when we
little-
talk about bright colors, there's still blues and greens. So it's not neon smack you in the face, but it is still bright and colorful and playful.
I'd still like to see either yellow or
So the
orange.
paint,
Yeah, we can
the
talk
paint
about
on
that.
the paint on the walls are gonna be like a neutral,
Right.
but
Yeah.
not bright white, I hope.
No,
Well,
no.
yeah.
I hope
So
not.
that,
It's more of a creamy color. And then the window frames will be a dark gray.
right.
The
So
framing is dark gray.
it,
And all
If
of
you
it's
mess-
eggshell because eggshell is the easiest to wipe down. It's the easiest to, to take care of, and it lasts a long time. So we're not using flat paint like a lot of buildings do, because that really just light and everything bounces off of eggshell, whereas flat, it just sucks it in, and it's not. I never have been crazy about it, but
I was just curious about the color.
right. So when you
it's
think
more
of,
of a neutral color, but it's not bright white, not hospital white.
right.
Hospital.
When we're
wine.
Kind of a
talking about,
milky, maybe a more milky white? Or,
When we get the color palette completely locked down, we'll bring the colors and show
Okay.
you.
okay,
We don't have, we haven't talked colors since we turned the samples back in, but
try,
I,
try,
summer temperature
White.
outlook.
try white duck. Write that down, white duck. And it's a really, yeah.
so in this room, you would have the field color along the walls. You'll have the wood grain flooring. You'll have a white ceiling. The color, the bright, comes from little pops. So painting this house shape, the colorful acoustical ceiling clouds, maybe portions of the area over by the house, but we are not coating entire walls with color. It's predominantly that neutral field color and then little pops. So if you think of maybe the bulkhead over this is a blue, and that's the only kind of gypsum in this room that gets a color paint that's not just the field, because in a library, there's so much going on, and there's so many other finishes coming in from the shelving, the books, and the furniture, that you want the walls relatively neutral, but you still want the building to have character, and those little touches can accomplish that.
Yeah, we don't want the walls to be the center of attention.
Right.
It's there to support the room.
Mhm.
Is there anything else you guys want to look at or see?
The teen area is the other area I think that's going to be the really,
And
You
then
know.
the flooring, you said it's mostly gonna be the wood grain paint
Correct.
all over, everywhere except for the kids.
Yeah, there's the small section in the children's area, well, 2 small sections in children's area, one for kind of in front of the TV for sitting, reading, story time over in the house. And then the only other carpet is in the adult reading area.
Yeah, it is.
Other than that, it's all LVT or tile in the bathrooms.
this is the LVT. It looks a lot darker on the camera. It's pretty light.
Yep.
And it's kind of got gray and
Kind of a brownish area, but it's
Yeah.
kind of just a neutral wood grain.
Right.
And that'll be the predominant flooring for the building. The only other area that has carpet, I think you said that, Alex, is the reading area
Yeah.
for the
The
adults.
adult reading.
This is the first time we've ever not carpeted, but this stuff is pretty cool. It's got padding on the back, little rubber padding. It's Shaw.
That's white duck. It's a really good white.
That looks pretty similar to what we picked, doesn't it, Alex?
It's a pretty
Yep,
good,
very
it's a
cool.
really good color.
Yeah.
And then the flooring, we haven't necessarily picked the carpeting in the adult area yet. We kind of want to knock or nail down the carpet in the children's area and then go from there. There's a lot less margin for error in the adult reading area. Children's carpet is very important to get the right pattern.
Right.
Well, they'll want to hopscotch it and, even hop on this one, hop on that one. You know, how they don't want to step on a crack or they'll break their mother's back,
Yeah.
that fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
We're trying to find a carpet that looks like a leafy pattern, abstract.
Yeah,
So
we've
Kind
been
of
calling it
woodsy
organic, so
area.
that, yeah.
You know, if you walked out in the woods, find something that would kind of go with that theme.
so that, it simulates the leaves that have fallen off the trees. So,
Camouflage, huh?
Oh,
Well, not exactly. Yeah, I'm kind of against camouflage of any kind.
Me
So,
too.
You have to, I don't particularly, care for that, but I do want something that really brings their imagination out.
yeah.
Where am I? I'm in a whole different area. I'm wherever I imagine I'm in. I'm not, in a regimented corner of the building anymore. I can be anything I want to be in this area, and that's kind of what we're looking for. We're really playing their imagination up. You turn it into whatever area you want it to be.
I appreciate the effort that you guys have gone into looking at different places and looking for different fun things, because what an opportunity. So I appreciate you guys are doing that. That's going to be fun.
We've never had this opportunity before.
We've done really, really well working together. The only thing that we've probably come to argue about is the color in the carpet.
Yeah.
So
I'm a lot more probably traditional,
and I'm pushing
abstract
for the
color.
yeah.
So, it's different. So, Mr. Piter, what do you think? Mr. Piter,
Yeah.
can you hear us? What do you think?
Well, looks like you got the plans going pretty good. When do we get out of a drawing stage into the actual construction?
Well, after we break ground.
Yep,
That's,
we are finishing our drawings in May, and then bidding will occur over June. So you would probably see shovels and dirt somewhere in July and August, depending on how fast Clint can get some contractors under contract.
Well, it's going to depend on the weather some too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. That time of year should be okay, but I've been wrong.
Yeah, the rainy season should be over by then.
Right.
And it's before cold weather, and hopefully we'll, have most of the groundwork
If
done.
it's in July, August, we're probably doing it at some awful hour in the morning for the groundbreaking is what I'm thinking. When I was in Memphis, we had to be, it was so hot. It was, I think, July, that we were there at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Ooh.
I mean, and I think it was already like 90 degrees.
Ooh.
It was awful.
How many will be able to fit in the coffee area and in the kitchen if we're renting that out? The kitchen area.
Yep. So the coffee area, I don't know that we have a specific number in mind, only because I think, and Gina and Joyce, you can correct me, we were kind of assuming we need to wait for the furniture to see how that space lays out and how you want it organized. The community room Go ahead.
I was going to say something about the coffee thing.
Yeah.
I think what we're talking to Demco this afternoon because we haven't gotten all of it hammered out yet, but probably in that coffee bar area, we're just talking tables and chairs, not really loungy, because that's where people could sit and eat a sandwich, drink a cup of coffee, that sort of thing. We don't want it too cluttered, because if you're using it as a event space, you need some standing room for people to kind of congregate and chit chat and so forth.
But we don't want them to live there.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be, bring your overnight stuff and you got an area. It's just for temporary snacks.
And that sounds funny, but I can tell you Neosho's had a huge homeless problem where they've camped out in their coffee bar area. So we don't have the same situation since we're not really on a main highway, but.
Plus somebody has to be responsible for cleaning that. Their staff's going to have to monitor that room, and any problem the staff has to take care of. So we don't want it to become an area that's just kind of a, place for people to hang out and do nothing.
And we're going to have cameras
Yes.
All throughout the building and on the exterior.
Good.
So we lost the stone, but we kept the cameras.
Yeah. Cameras are really important. So
We've come to believe that.
And then to your question on the community room, it will be advertised to the public for 50, but by building code, you could fit 100.
Oh,
we're going to have you be able to do seating a couple of different ways. Seating, you can do auditorium style, where it's just the chairs. So you probably could fit 100 that way. But if you put in tables, we're looking at these, I think they're like 6-foot half tables, like we use at Pier City.
Yeah.
But the ones that we're asking for are where you can flip the tops and roll them to be stored. You can nest them, because it gets really hard to move that stuff around. And that area behind the kitchen is all a storage closet.
Right. So, and it'll be pretty much a bare, empty room that just the furniture from the community room and the coffee area can go to when you need to do an event that requires open floor area, or all that furniture comes out for the most intense table and chair setup that you can have. So I think it's pretty functional.
Yeah.
What about the shelving in the teen area and in the adult area? Will it also be those colors?
No.
Okay.
It will go back to the only place that we will have that will be in the children's area. Everything else, because in a teen area, it's just like an adult section for anybody else. You will be constantly over the years, you add to or you take away from, because of that depends on your collection. And so you want shelving that will be consistent, that you can use in any area. So the only room that will be specifically for children is the children's area. And that's the one that we've talked about using color. And the color does not cost a great deal more than regular. It's just a color. No, we won't do anything else so that you could only limit the use of that shelving in a particular area. Because when you start mixing shelving, it gets really, ugly. I mean, it looks put together. It doesn't look like you planned it. So no, the answer is no. The only section we'll do will be the children's area.
Some of the color will come from the end panels, the panels that kind of finish what the shelving is, so you don't see those bare metal ends. So it just depends on what we're able to get for that. So
and
that's
even in the teen area, some of that will be slat wall shelving. The end panels will be slat wall, so you could use different the plastic slat wall accessories. You can display different books at different times, different sizes, open face, out. So it all of it has to be very universally usable, so that we can go in and change it, so that it's not, so tied down that you can never do anything else to it. So that's why we're looking at doing it that way.
And then to that question in terms of the color shelving in the children's, and I have to give props to Gina and Joyce because it just makes sense to me. The fixed shelving, so the shelving that doesn't move, is the putty.
Yeah.
So that you guys still get that flexibility. It's the rolling shelving, the
Yeah,
carts.
it's all the stuff on casters.
Right. Essentially, I think of it, yeah, stacks and book shelving is furniture, but I think of those because they're fixed almost like it's a part of the building. The rolling shelves, the furniture almost is the bright pops of color so that you still have that playful aspect, and it's on the mobile part. You could rearrange it any way you want, but you still get that utility out of the putty.
And you have to remember too, on what we're calling fixed shelving, the tops of those, because these are much shorter shelves than adult shelving is, the tops of those are what we call canopy tops. Canopy tops is where you add color. If, even though the shelving may be putty, because these are shorter areas, because you're going to have things, you're going to have toys, you're going to have books displayed, and that's where the canopy tops come in. You can pull different colors from everywhere for the canopy tops. And that really does add a lot to a room because all the light reflects off of that. And it really does make quite a lot of the buildings that we have visited. That's where they bring a lot of their color. And that's what we call them. They're called canopy tops. And you select that. Even in our own buildings, we have a lot of buildings with different color canopy tops to them in a children's area. So we'll be able to do that with this too. But the shelves themselves will still be putty, but everything around it will be different. But the movable shelves, the whole units will be a different color.
And we'll be sharing that as all that comes about too, so you can see.
Yeah, I know this looks really well thought through. I would say all of what we're presenting gelled and really came together probably within the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So you're seeing relatively up to the date information and design.
We've met together a lot.
I bet.
Be glad that you haven't had to have all these meetings. So.
But we're still, the carpet right now is still, best 2 out of 3 falls, so we're not sure exactly where that's going yet, but it'll be something everybody decides on.
I can provide context. If that's the worst thing that we have going on, we are in really good shape.
Yeah, I'd say.
We've not, I honestly, that's about the only thing, if you want to call it battled, which we're really not, but we have some very strong opinions, let's say that.
Okay. Anything else for Alex?
I know I'm just so super excited. I can't wait to get going. So
Yeah,
It looks great.
it does. It looks great,
In my
girls.
opinion, I think this will be the best building Monette's ever had.
Yeah.
Bar none. Hospital is great, but it's a hospital. I think this is going to be one of the best buildings that, if anybody wants to bring an attention to, I think it's going to be, it's out there by the library. You'll know it's the library.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Speaking of the Monette Hospital, that's where Shirley and I got our COVID shots, and I was impressed with that building. It's really nice.
It is. It's a very nice building, but it's a hospital.
It only has one entrance and exit, though. That's just the weird. You would think there'd be more than one way to get into that hospital. So one day that's going to be a problem. Something's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Oh, don't say that. Y'all have done a
Thank you,
great job.
Alex.
The building in front is now the outpatient clinic and the urgent care. So it's got a lot of activity up there.
Oh yeah, by our library site. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Used to be a doctor's office and now it's urgent care. Yeah.
And then the visiting doctors go there, and you see you know,
Oh,
specialists there now too.
okay. That's good to know, Julie. I didn't realize that.
Well, thank you, Alex. Appreciate your time and all your effort.
Thank you very much. It's
We'll
been a
be
pleasure
talking
working
to
with
you about the latest carpet samples.
I'll see you guys this afternoon.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, has everyone read the minutes of the last meeting? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the last meeting's minutes.
Second.
Deborah,
First,
second. All in
Who sec-
favor?
Who seconded?
Aye.
was it Mr. Pine?
Deborah.
Okay, second. Okay.
All in favor? That was, I didn't see Julie.
I,
Yes, I,
All their hands went up.
Unopposed,
Okay.
motion carried. Financial report.
Okay, so we've pretty much collected all of our current tax, and you can see I'm pretty conservative, you know, in what I think we're going to collect, because I think it's better to collect more, estimate low and collect more. So we're 70,000 over what I had anticipated us collecting. So that's good. So we've collected year to date $1.9 million. That's a huge number, isn't it?
Wahoo, yes, it is.
You can see in our tax there at the top that we're actually ahead everywhere pretty much. So I think that's a good thing, especially when you compare to last year. Of course, our tax levy increase accounts for much of that. So, because assessments haven't gone up dramatically over the last few years. So we're way down in what we've usually collect in SRC donations. I don't think that's a huge surprise given the pandemic, with small businesses where we get a lot of those from, but that should start to pick up. But overall, I think we're right where we need to be.
Of course, we no longer collect fines.
Right.
So there is it's definitely a difference in that now. And also the meeting room fees that we were collecting, we're no longer collecting as long as they're shut down.
Yeah. So if you look down at the bottom line, so far we've collected $2,447,295. And so we're quite a bit ahead of about $700,000 over where we were last year.
That's
So,
a nice figure.
we're in good-
700,000 plus
It's a
is
nice figure. But just remember, pretty soon, big chunk of that's going to pay for the building. So
But we're going to have a lot of donations.
yes, we are, because I'm
Yes, we are.
confident. So they said we couldn't pass the tax levy, and we did. We're going to get money. So at any rate, if you go to the expenditures, we spent $203,000 this month. A portion of that was non-budgeted, and that was the fees to the architects. If you look at line 7602, there's 43,000. If you take that out, we really only spent about $160,000 on just monthly type things. So we're kind of right in line, just the typical stuff, no big expenses right now. So then if you look at checking operations, we have 1.8, almost $1.9 million in checking. And then our reserve fund for Monette is at 509, and Shellnob is at 182 for 691,847. Just remember, with our checking operations, that's money that we have to have to last us through the end of the year. So, because remember, we collect taxes on a calendar basis, but our budget's on a fiscal year basis. So there's always kind of a balancing act between those two things that we have to manage. So I'll start really working on the next fiscal year budget next month in preparation for the June meeting where you'll have to approve. So,
Okay. Any questions on the finances? Then I need a motion to approve the financial report.
No move.
Thank you, Charles. Julie, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Circulation stats.
okay, so for March, we circulated a little over 16,000 items. We're kind of neck and neck with March of last year, which is kind of surprising since we closed for the pandemic. We were open 19 days, and there's no true surprises on this page. We're still doing extremely well with our e-material checkouts. That you know that fluctuates. Some months we're way ahead of the previous year and some months we're behind. You'll see with Hoopla, last year we circulated 2,069 items and this year only 1,894. That part of that's because we made those adjustments last year where we were allowing 10 item checkouts and we were closed, so more people were using it. This year, because of money, we reduced the number of checkouts because people were hitting our daily limit and not being able to check out. So I think that number will fluctuate as well, but we should keep around the 2,000 mark with Hoopla. I think that's a good number to strive for. With computer use, considering that we don't have all of our computers open for use yet, I think 1321 is a pretty good number to have. And curbside
your
delivery is
First and
still,
second quarter.
huh?
Do what?
She froze.
I don't know who that was.
So with curbside delivery, we had 79 uses. I think curbside, we'll just keep that going.
We still have a lot of people that call all the time that prefer that still. And so it's still in most of the branches, it's still pretty popular. And that's great because that takes care of our customers and you know, we're not losing circulation because of it. So
Well,
that's still a popular thing.
Parents with young kids will always want that.
I think that's one thing, the drive-through window up at the new branch
Yes.
will be so popular because there are so many parents with small children and it is a hassle to get out and get them gathered together. And it's, you know, it's like trying to herd cats. And so, you know, I think they will really like that. And the curbside has helped a lot with that too.
Yeah. Well, and we want them to come inside the library, but we don't want it to be a burden. So when they just need to pick a book up on hold, that's what they're probably using it for. When they want to take their kids inside, that's a different trip, you know.
Or if you're disabled,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I know when I wasn't feeling super good or my knees were not doing so hot, that really would have been a nice feature. So we're still perking along pretty well with our programs. We had 156 last month with almost 4,000 people attending or participating in those passive programs. Another thing that we've been doing since the pandemic started are what we're calling take-home kits. They're craft kits. And that is another thing that's proven to be really popular. And so they did over 1,000 of those last month, which if you've ever had to pack a little baggie full of stuff, that's cool.
That's a lot of bags.
With instructions, that's a lot of little bags. So I'm really, when you look at Cassville, look how many Eagle Rock did, and Monette. I mean, those are a lot of little bags. And so I'm pretty impressed with the creativity that we're seeing. So, and all the different Facebook posts and shares that we're getting, I think is pretty exciting. So,
Does
I think
Eagle Rock and Marionville, they're over 500 take-home kits. Do they just do more of that, or is there less demand there?
There's not 500. Are you looking at there were only,
Oh, I'm maybe looking at the quarterly stats.
yeah, I haven't gotten to those
Okay.
yet. So, yeah.
Well, I think in Eagle Rock, I mean, they're pretty sparse. I mean, their population's pretty spread out
Mm-hmm.
in Eagle Rock, and they really, Jennifer's had a lot of success with those take-home kits because the parents can just run in there and pick up for their kids, and they really have done really well with them. Because there isn't a whole lot of entertainment around Eagle Rock, no offense, but there just isn't. And so for kids, especially geared towards small children, this for them has been a real lifesaver because it keeps them busy.
I think it's an excellent idea. I was just trying to figure out if we offered it more in those other places, if it's needed, or we're just not offering them as much there.
In Eagle Rock, they really don't have a lot of programming for children because the kids are going away to school to Cassville. And so they do a lot of, let's see, I'm trying to remember what age they take for the pre-kindergarten. Is it 3-year-olds? So they just don't get as much. They really do story time on demand more than anything. If somebody shows up, they read a story to them. So it's not as organized, but they have a pretty outstanding homeschool program. That's probably the most popular with various ages. So I just think, they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere in a way. So,
well, in a lot of our larger branches, there's so many other activities for kids to do in those towns. And a lot of it's free activities, whereas the smaller areas just don't. So for them, that's a big treat for the parents to be able to have something prepared for them, hand it to them, and they can, themselves build stuff. So I think that's the reason it goes over better there.
Look at the branch activities. There's not really, they're pretty much just doing what they're supposed to do. Again, I usually just point out, I don't put every single program on here that they do. It's just sort of the highlights. Everybody does story time, so I don't usually put those on here unless it's something special. So you can read over that and see what's going on at your branch location. And then with the quarterly statistics, I realized I hadn't done these in a while. So first and second quarter, you'll see on the second quarter sheet, there was no need to make a copy of just the first quarter. We did over 50,000 circulations since the start of the fiscal year, or I'm sorry, for the second quarter. I think, which is pretty good. If you go to the circulation page, which is the third page, you can see year to date, we've done 109,000 circulations. So we're on track to do about 220,000 circulations by the end of the year. And considering that we're just now starting to see more of an increase in people using the facilities, that I think that's pretty good. I'm not unhappy about that at all. We've had 15,000 checkouts with our MoLib to go, which is pretty good. And then another 12,000 which predominantly is Hoopla, between Hoopla and Ancestry, and by the way, I did cancel Ancestry. I calculated it's costing us about $20 a session. So we're just not having, that's a lot of money to pay for, Katie to search for her grandparents, although I'm happy to do that, but maybe I could buy, 2 or 3 ebooks that benefit a lot more people with that $20. So that's what we'll be doing. Our new card holders, we're doing pretty well in adding people. We calculated, the customer count is difficult because what I do is we have 1 week every quarter where we count things and then we multiply that times 13. Everything's a manual count, so they're, counting as people come in the building. And so there's human error there. So we probably actually have more people coming in than they're calculating.
More than likely.
Anything else that's really, we've had, for year to date, over 7,000 uses of our computers. We've already talked about programs. We do a lot of programs. We have a lot of material that's traveling between our location and Evergreen. I just saw some reports from here, from Barry Lawrence to Missouri Evergreen. There's like 7,000 transactions for just this past quarter. And Julie is doing that. So it's a lot. In fact, we're going to have a 5-day delivery with the courier. So in the upcoming year, the state library has requested, based on our numbers, because we're in the top 15 users, that we add another day, which makes me sad because it's very expensive, but it'll help ease the burden of what comes in here on the days that we do have deliveries.
So Gina, when you say 7,000, we have 7,000 materials going out per quarter. Is that what you're saying? What do we have coming in?
8,000.
Wow.
We have more coming in than we're sending out.
Okay.
Which is what we want. So we're, I'm trying to think, I want to say Scenic Regionals, like one of the top ones, and they do like 15 to 20,000. But they're in a bigger, they're rural, but they're closer to St. Louis, so they have more traffic than we do. If you go to the last page, this is a new page that I just added. Since we started doing curbside and take-home kits, I thought we probably needed to track that quarterly. And so that's a whole new page. And I went ahead, I have to report generally at the end of the year to the state library. In order for us to get state aid, we have to participate in the statewide statistics, and the programs by type is a number they always ask us for. So I thought it might be easier for me than having to calculate that at the end of the year just to have, so that's really for me. It's a number that they ask for. We don't really use it internally, so. Any questions on any of that?
And let's go to director's report.
Okay, so just several updates for how things are going. We have replaced most everything that was stolen. I think there's still a few computers, and we may end up not replacing them since some of the ones that were stolen were used. And they'll probably just get replaced as we get grant money. So we'll see how that goes. Of course, we didn't get full value replacement. So, but all the movie equipment has been replaced. My gosh, we're going to be doing probably 25 outdoor movies this summer across the system. So it was a good thing that we were able to replace that. We did go ahead and contract with Federal Protection, and they came last week and installed the security system and one camera on the back door that faces, it catches images of people as they come in and out of the staff door. and it also shows the garage door. We also had a light, motion detector light that the electricians put in between our building and the garage so that that's lit up a little bit better at night, which makes me feel better.
It is a lot better in the
And we
morning.
had we have an electrical outlet out there that we had capped off and we've locked, because we don't want anybody sitting there on their cell phones any longer, because it's totally creepy to come out by yourself and see a whole bunch of people sitting there. So that seems to have discouraged the use of that area for that. So now they're forced to go to the side of the building, which faces a street. So that's good. After they got all this done, we realized we probably needed a couple of more cameras. So they're going to install one that looks at the parking lot, because we don't have any pictures of people that come around the side of that building. And then a camera that will be actually inside, but will monitor people as they come and go of the front door. So I think that'll be much better coverage. It's kind of cool. There's an app that I have on my phone, and also installed on the computer. And so I can pull up real-time images anytime I want to. And then I can also do playback. So if I'm here alone, for example, by myself, I can pull up the camera and see if anybody's out there before I ever leave the building. And so, of course, I can stick my head out the window too, but it's a good thing, especially when it's dark, when it gets darker. So Leanne and I both have that installed on our computers, on our phones. And I don't know that anybody else really needs to or probably wants to, but we could let them if they wanted to. Amber might want it since she's here with teens late on Fridays, but we'll see.
I just run for the back door.
Yeah.
Is there any update on whether they caught the guy who broke in?
No.
We've heard crickets, nothing.
Yeah.
So I guess I might follow up with them, but usually they've contacted us, in the past, like when we've had vandalism, to tell us. So
I think Barney's still looking for his bullet, so we don't have that.
In Mount Vernon, ServPro did complete I think they called the dry out phase. That's been a couple of weeks ago. And so they removed all their equipment and all that kind of stuff. And the estimator came. His name is Brian, real nice guy. And the branch is still pretty torn up. We've removed all the computer equipment. Leanne went with Melvin, and they loaded all that up and brought it back here, because we don't want that to be there when they start doing sheetrock installation. Because if you've ever experienced it, whenever they start sanding that fine sand, we don't want that in.
And it's murder on electronics.
Yeah. So they're supposed to start sheetrock first. I don't know when. I thought they would have started it by now, but they haven't. It's going to cost approximately $58,000. They're going to have to sheetrock paint, of course, new flooring,
cabinets.
They actually threw out cabinets. They threw out plumbing. They threw out sinks. They threw out toilets. So because of where the damage occurred. So all that'll have to be replaced. So I told the branch to just plan, obviously we'll be closed through the end of April. And I said, just plan on being closed through May. And if we're open sooner, then we'll be pleasantly surprised. So
was any of the damage,
uh-huh.
was any of the damage covered by insurance?
It all should be.
It's all going to the city's insurance, because it was the city's problem, because it was a backup from the manhole sewer system, which is what caused most of the damage was the
Mhm.
fact that it was gray water.
It's sewer water that came back up. It wasn't just
Yeah.
runoff.
Yeah, so it was dirty and nasty and disgusting. So
And
Oh,
we
I'm
have had,
sure it
you know,
was.
we've talked about that before, but we're trying our best to find out how we could put a backflow preventer in that branch, but you have to retrofit it. And we've still not had success finding where the sewer comes into the library property. And it has to be put between there and the building. And
Wow.
they've not had a lot of success with the city. If we have to dig into that ditch that the library sits on, that would be on our dime. The city's not crazy about that. If it's anywhere else, then we're digging up the parking lot. So that part, but the way we've been told is if you have the opportunity to install a backflow preventer and you do not do that, if it happened again, their insurance would not pay for it.
Yeah.
So
have
we're
to
still
show-
trying. Yeah,
We
we're
have
still,
to show some effort to prevent it,
yeah,
or they
we
won't
still
pay you
have to
again.
try to get that done if possible, because all that does is just save us from a future disaster.
Right.
we can't find the floor plans. I still think Richard well, he says he doesn't have them, but that's the last time we had floor plans for the building and we cannot find them here. So it's possible we've had them out for something else and somebody kept them. So we're probably going to have to pay for them to put a camera down the line to determine where they're going to have to put that backflow.
Well, you'd have to do that anyway because you have to find any obstructions. But it's just that it would be so much simpler if we had an idea of where we're looking.
So I've in talking with Cindy, a lot of the customers from Mount Vernon, because they're going to be closed so long, are actually willing to go to Miller and have been. And so I gave them permission to be open Tuesdays and Thursdays while Mount Vernon is closed. It also gives us the ability to put the staff somewhere, even if it's in that small location. Edwana is still working part of the time at Marionville. She and Cindy Gulick are doing a lot of programming, so they have plenty of time to work on their programs. Mount Vernon really didn't slow down a lot with programs. They just figured out alternative solutions to make it happen. So that seemed a good solution for us to use Miller Branch in that way. So I think it's going okay. They're making good use of their time. They were over at the Mount Vernon branch this week, boxing up stuff that they either needed or they wanted it off out of the ways for when they start this work. So so we're also going to add some cameras. We've had some money disappearing and we've had this problem before. So we have some cameras, but they were ones that JJ installed. They're just little cheap things. These cameras that Federal Protection uses are very high quality. So I asked for them to do an installation of a camera at the inside that watches the desk, and then also of the exterior to see who's coming in and out of the building. We're not going to do monitored security. There's really not a need, but we do need to have some cameras at that facility to see what's going on. So
Is that Mount Vernon?
no, that's at Shell Knob.
Oh, Shell Knob. Okay.
Shell Knob. Sorry. Yeah, at Shell Knob. So now I have a series of requests for you. So, because I just told the staff that if they have a request, we'll just do it on a case-by-case basis until we're comfortable opening up the meeting rooms just across the system. So Vicki Maples with Aurora, she has a couple of different book clubs, but we're only talking about the Baker's Book Club. There's 5 members right now. They've all been vaccinated. All the members actually have had both of their vaccines and they're beyond that 2-week period after the second one. Vicki is either getting or has gotten her second one. And so she'll be, by the time they meet again, she'll be fully vaccinated. So they're asking if it was okay for them to go ahead and meet in the meeting room, and they'll still socially distance, they'll still mask, but they've all been vaccinated. What do you all think?
Is
Well,
this
I
the
think
one-
that's about it. That's about as much protection as they've all been vaccinated. What else can we do?
Yeah. Is this the one we approved through email?
No.
Okay.
We haven't gotten to that one. This is a different one.
Okay.
So you all would need to approve this by vote.
Okay.
I'm sorry, my connection stalled.
Okay.
I didn't hear what the meeting group was.
It's their Baker's Book Club. It's a club that meets and they read books about baking fiction, you know, about, and they used to bring treats in from the books that had recipes, but they're not doing that right now.
I
It's
think
a series that they, you know, that they got into, and they had so many people interested that they actually formed a book club about it.
if they're social distancing and masked and, you know, are doing what they can, I think we should let them use it. Unless that's gonna, I mean, we don't have furniture in that room, right? That's not gonna,
No, we do. That furniture couldn't move anywhere. It's still in there. So, and 5 people, they can easily socially distance even with
Right.
what's being stored in there.
okay.
We lost Gina. We got to wait a minute. I guess Wendy could.
Yeah. She can ask for a motion.
So do we need a motion for that then? Okay. Well, I would make a motion. Do we need to wait for Gina?
I can make the motion. I move
Okay.
that we allow this special circumstance for this group to meet.
Second.
Okay.
That's Katie.
All those in favor? Aye.
We need a
Aye.
second.
Deborah,
We had one.
Deborah,
Deborah,
Deborah. Okay, sorry.
Anybody opposed? No, I think it carries.
Okay, so the next request is from Cassville. I guess that they have a request from the school, summer school students, the teachers, for the summer school students to visit the library and check out materials. She did not know yet any particulars like the class size, how long they would be visiting. I told her you all would have to even approve discussing this, but they would have to not, they could only have so many kids at a time in the building. So I thought, I told her, I said, we really don't have enough information, but we could go ahead and say we could have school visits if they do
Right.
this, this, and this.
Right. Set the limits. Right.
Well, and can't we go by our limits that are already in place? Like we already require masks.
Yeah.
There's already limited capacity. So as long as they don't go over those limits, wouldn't they already be able to do that?
Yes, except, oh, wait a minute, Gina's calling in. Yes, ma'am. Did you? Okay. Okay, you want me to put you on speakerphone? Okay, hang on. Okay, so Gina lost connection. And so we have her on speaker. She's going to try again, but Wendy went ahead and took over for you while we were waiting.
For the request from Aurora.
Are you there?
We're not doing very well.
Well, we may have lost her. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I told Cheryl was, I can't remember. I think they can have up to 15 people, or it might be 12. I'd have to look at my sheet.
But now that's total number.
Total number. So they would have to based on however many people were already in the building, they would have to limit the
Mhm.
class size. The whole class can't come in at a time.
Right.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Well, and we're not gonna want to kick out patrons to let, you know, other people
That's
in.
what I-
That's how it'd work. 15 isn't very many. I don't know how big the class could be.
Well, you know, the average is
there?
about 25.
There she is.
So, you know, that's
Oh,
already
hold
over the
on.
limit.
Okay, so good deal. I'm gonna turn you off the phone. No, you already turned me off.
You
Well,
Okay,
know,
good.
what would they
Okay,
do if they, so what would they do if they got there and the class size was too big and they couldn't all come in? What would they do with the other students?
They'd have to have a teacher, they'd have to
Yeah.
have at least 2 teachers
Right.
with them,
Yeah.
which I would
Cassville-
assume, I don't know, Wendy, do they
Cassville-
usually have 2 teachers for summer?
I would hope that they would, but you know, Cassville is close enough with those nice sidewalks that they've walked them up to the library
Mhm.
at summer school for
Right.
years. But I don't know, you know, of course, there was never the numbers that would be, but I think
Right.
as long as they were aware of it, they could just take a smaller number. They're not,
Right.
most of them, I don't think, they're walking up there and back, I think.
Exactly. Now, if
So-
you're
And
sitting
maybe,
there-
you know, summer school doesn't start till June. So maybe between now and June, we've made some adjustments. I just don't know. I doubt it, but I don't know. So I'll
I
just
think-
tell her that as long as it works within the
Current
Confinement.
the current guidelines,
Mhm.
they could do it. They just, whoever can't come in, there has to be somebody that can wait outside with them.
Uh-huh.
Well, and luckily too, they have that nice grassy shaded area. They've got that nice patio area down below with the brick. You know, they've got somewhere they could have half of them hang out if they needed to. It's not like they're sitting in concrete.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Well, and that being
Even the
that
front
close,
has the nice cover.
yeah, being that close to the school, maybe one teacher could watch the 2 classes while the other teacher walks the 10 kids or whatever, you know, back and forth. So that might be a possibility
Right.
too.
Mhm.
So do we
Yeah.
need to vote
Them
or
on their
just,
own grounds until they're able to come over.
do we need a
I don't
motion?
think
or do
on
we
this
just-
one we do.
Okay,
Yeah, you had a motion for the other request, so.
You think so?
Mhm.
Okay, yes.
I move as long as they can meet the limit capacity, they can come in.
Yeah, the mass, the capacity, and the current guidelines.
Yes.
Nice. I second.
Okay,
Who second? Who said that?
Julie.
Julie?
Really?
was
Gina's
that
on
you,
mute.
Julie?
I think we just froze up.
We froze up
I'll second.
Julie.
I
I
think
think
she
it's
left.
our
Who's
account.
opposed?
I don't know.
It was Julie that seconded it, but I don't know
seconded
what
it.
happened to her.
Yeah.
There she is.
There she is.
Regina is trying to talk, but she's on mute. Regina, you're on mute.
Thank you. Wendy seconded it, but she just raised her hand. And then
It don't
Julie
matter.
seconded. Doesn't matter.
Okay, we got one of the two, so we're saying
Yeah.
all approved?
Yes. Right.
Okay.
The time, Gary.
Okay.
We just approved we always ask people to submit vacation sheets so that we can kind of plan for any problems that could come up with different branches. And one of the things that came up that I somehow missed when I did the holiday closing list, Christmas falls on a Saturday. Are we?
We
Julie?
can hear you.
We can hear
Okay.
you.
We can
I'm
hear
just,
you.
because everybody on my screen is pretty frozen, so,
Oh,
okay, so, but everybody can hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Here you go.
Okay. So Christmas falls on a Saturday. Because that's a holiday, then whoever would typically be scheduled off that day would have to take another day off. And they only have about a week to do that in. That's a lot of staff. So I would suggest that we close the 27th, the Monday, following that holiday in observance of Christmas Day. And we've done this in the past. I just missed it this time.
Are we closed
What's
on
the date
Christmas
this
Eve?
year?
Do they close on
Yeah.
Christmas Eve? Like Friday will be closed?
Yes, we're closed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's just easier for planning purposes if we go ahead and approve a day for in observance. It makes it easier for scheduling, and then we don't have, so many people off throughout the whole entire week. It really makes it difficult.
I move that we take December 27th off for Christmas.
Seconded.
I'll second.
Deborah.
Thank you, Deborah. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, the final thing on the report is a financing update. I've been working with Courtney Wegman with LJ Hart to prepare information to give to Standard & Poor's for our rating. And I should get like extra pay for this. No, I'm kidding. I've had some questions. I'm like, I don't know. How do I find that? Like the legal description of the site. Well, I did find it. We actually had it in the original what do you call that? Where they evaluated the land.
Appraisal.
Assessment.
Yes.
Assessment.
Yeah, the original assessment. Woo, I was so happy that was in there. It's gobbledygook, but I found it. But at any rate, I met with her yesterday by phone just to go over all the questions, and it's a pretty formal process. They ask for information, you submit a ton of stuff to them, and then you have a phone call. So my phone interview with them is next Wednesday. And then from there, they'll know what kind of package they can put together for us, whether it has to be rated or unrated. Remember, they had talked with us about that. So we're just perking right along, I mean, with the process. So everything that we've so far, knock on wood, have not really had any hiccups. So
Does everything look to be ready by the time we need it in August?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. Actually, before, because we'll probably have to start paying some things by that time. So
Okay,
I think that
do I have a motion to approve the director's report?
So moved.
A second. Third.
All in favor? Just about everybody moved on that one. So I assume it's approved.
Nobody wants to be frozen.
No.
I like there's a
Goodbye,
meme.
Janine.
There's
Okay.
a meme on Facebook that has, people at a seance, where are you there? Are you there? That Zoom is like a seance. So I guess overall we've actually had pretty good luck. So
Okay, ratify the Cassville Painting Program email vote.
this is the one that I sent to you in the 1st of April, where everybody voted yes, that we would allow Cassville to accommodate up to 6 people, masked, socially distanced, to do their painting program.
Okay.
I move that we make that official.
Yeah.
And Mr. Peterson.
Charles, second. All in favor? Motion carried. Ratify Joyce Frazier, interim director, email vote.
I put this on the agenda and I had one person call and say, "Are you okay?" And I said, I knew I should have. I should have sent an email out when I sent the agenda to the branches to post. I said, yeah, I'm perfectly fine. It's just a formality. So And that's all it was, is that on this one form I was working with Courtney, they had listed Joyce because they have to know who would be in charge. And I said, if we're going to put that on a legal thing, then we need to have a motion from the board. And everybody approved it very quickly. So, and she does it anyway. So
We're thankful for both of you.
thank
Oh,
you.
absolutely. Well, I move that we ratify our vote for Joyce to be the interim director.
Thank you.
I hope you never have to use it.
Second,
Charles, second. All in favor? Motion carried.
Okay.
We hope there's no foul play with this carpet decision.
yeah.
Well, you know,
We may just whip each other with the tiles. I don't know.
I still say best 2 out of 3 falls is the way it's going to
I
go.
can take her, although she's a little feisty thing. So
Okay.
it actually might be kind of funny because we'd be like, don't hit me there.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, Community Foundation of the Ozarks.
So I put this on here. This came up with Gina had come to me with a couple of things to consider for fundraising opportunities. And one of the things, and we sort of loosely talked about this over the years, but the Community Foundation of the Ozarks has a way for us to establish a fund with them. It would be our funds. I think we'd have to put probably a minimum amount into it. And in doing so, then it's invested and they serve as the foundation for the library or as a resource for the foundation. But one of the benefits to that is then we're qualified for potential donors who would look at a database and say, oh, the library is seeking money for whatever. And we would qualify for that as well as for any grants that might come up as a result for the Community Foundation. Am I saying that right, Gina?
Yes. Yep. They have a website called causemomentum.org. And it's basically like crowdfunding, but it's through the Community Foundation of the Ozarks. And so we could put up our Monette Branch building and our goal, and people can donate to it online. And we found out at the senior center that there's people who don't want to give online. They just come in and bring you checks. We had just as much in checks as we did in donations online. So it's fairly easy way to get our message out there to a lot of people.
Is there any cost to us to do that?
There's a small bookkeeping cost, and if people use a credit card, there's a fee for that, but most people pay that fee along with their donation. So it's just a small bookkeeping fee. It's like, I don't even remember the amount, but it's very small.
What would our initial contribution have to be from us? How much would that have to be?
It's not a contribution, it's a deposit because you are earning interest on it. It's an investment rather than a fee.
And the Community Foundation of the Ozarks does a lot of dispersal of funds. They do it, 2 or 3 times a year, and it's all kinds of projects. They're all civic projects, but they're all kinds of projects. Some of them are schools, some of them are libraries, some of them are aid centers, the family harvests. I mean, the food banks, things like that. So they disperse a lot of funds to a lot of groups that, wait for these every year. So they've been doing this for a long time. And a lot of people really benefit from it. A lot of groups benefit from those.
I was thinking we could take what did we talk about, Gina, like $5,000 to establish the fund?
I imagine so. Yeah.
And we just take that, if we establish this as the fund for the new Monette branch, then we would take money
you
from
just
our
take that out of
reserve funds and put it into there.
Well, you could just call it the Barry Lawrence Regional Library
Okay.
Fund,
Put it just for
and
one.
then have your special project up there as
Oh,
the
okay.
Monette branch.
That way you can use it all the time. If we, after we finish Monette, if we're renovating other buildings, if we're
Right.
doing other building projects, then it can all go under there at the same time.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a great idea to me. We need all the help we can get.
Yeah,
The, you know, we really probably need to consider establishing our own foundation, but just knowing how hard it is to get board members, you know, to get a board pulled together from all the different communities, it's a pretty daunting
Mhm.
task. And then getting them to meet routinely and fundraising, that's the, you know, the foundation generally serves as money makers. So you have to really kind of cull who you want to be on that foundation. And I'm just not sure.
Well, I think that's where the community of Foundation of the Ozarks would work for us.
Mhm.
We wouldn't need our own foundation because we're using them.
Them instead. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think in this situation, it's probably a good thing. I just didn't, I can't do this on my own because I work for you all. So you all will have to approve it for me to, I have an application form that I'll fill out.
Do we have enough of us here to do that right now, or do we need to wait and do that when we have a quorum? Are there
You have a quorum.
2, 4,
We're
you've got
quorum.
6 people.
Yeah, you have a quorum.
Okay. Well, so I make a motion that we work toward establishing this new fund with the Community Foundation of the Ozarks. Is that appropriate?
Okay. Need a second?
I'll second.
Deborah, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
I do like Regina's suggestion that we keep it basic for the whole library and just put our special projects up there so we don't have to do this every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. So yeah, I'll
And
make
you
sure
can
it just says Barry
label it.
Lawrence Regional Library.
In order to keep the funds separate, you can label this Monette Building Fund. And that's how it goes into your account. So, and you can have this last a certain period of time, or you can make it a short thing and can publicize it and say, okay, we're having a Monette Building Fund campaign day on Cause Momentum, and you put out that link on the website and in a newspaper ad or in Connections magazine, and people just jump on board with that. And they don't have to be from Monette to do that, because they can, this reaches the whole area.
And that would be a good thing for us, but since we do it every time in the Connection magazine, that's a real good place to put that, because, you know, a lot of people read that magazine that really aren't necessarily library users, but they, it has helped, and we can definitely put that every month into that if you wanted to help, here's a real good way to do it.
Right.
I could see that also reaching people that have ties to Monette that want to know about what's going on and ways they can help their community, like that donation we got from, was it Marina Sweeney? That
From, his daughter,
that wants to help us.
Because we've had people say that, you know, how would their family do something in, you know, in memory of someone else in their family, and we go through the whole Magella, we explain the whole thing to them, how easy it would be to do that. So we're hoping that that's going to bring, you know, donated money into the project too.
and I think a lot of people would appreciate the convenience of doing that, and instead of hunting up somebody from the library, if they're out of state or something, they could just go through the Foundation of the Ozarks, and it's all taken care of.
Well, and when you call it a Foundation of the Ozarks, you know, that's a pretty broad area of the state. And so
Yes.
that makes it look like you are helping this entire area in the state.
Yeah.
It's not just this little bitty town in this little bitty area and one thing. So I think that gets a lot more attention. And they do a lot of publicizing of the community foundation anyway.
Mhm. The
Speaking
Give
of-
Ozarks Day was really very successful. I think they raised hundreds of thousands of dollars in one day for a lot of organizations.
Mm-hmm. A lot of companies do that for that particular thing too, because it's a great write-off for them.
Yeah.
Speaking of fundraisers, next weekend on the 24th, the teen group here is selling chicken dinners. It's just a first come, first serve, $10 a plate. And so if you are in town and can come by, then
I just
come by.
noticed that there was 81 shares of that post off of the Facebook
Yep.
page.
Yep, and lots of good comments about it.
Yeah.
Amber, I think, is our secret weapon. I don't know how she does it, but she got everything donated. All the food, all the supplies,
Even
everything.
the preparation.
And
She must be a good arm twister.
she said, I just ask people and I'm like, but I ask people and they don't do this. I don't know what it is, So she's been pretty stunned. They'll also have drinks for sale. We got a $200 gift from whatever Ramey's is called now.
Price cutter.
Yeah, and so whatever they didn't have donations for, then we've got money to spend there. So it's turned out to be a really, really good thing, and the teens are super excited, and she loves working with that age group, and they respond really well.
Mm-hmm.
Last Friday, they did a food handling program. So she said, I didn't want to wait till the day of to explain how you're supposed to handle food and not pick your nose or scratch your head or whatever. So I bought some stuff to make sandwiches. So they did a food handling workshop online, and or she did, and then she did it with the kids, and then they did that program. So
you're telling us the food will be safe then? That's
yes.
That's good to know.
Yes, that's the key. Yes, the food will be safe.
We're not actually preparing it. We're handling it.
We're just handling
We
it.
got the
So
preparation done.
and I
really
love that
awesome.
it's different people from all over the community that have come together to help us with this. So if this is successful, which I think it will be, they could raise over $2,000. They've set a goal of raising $10,000. So I think they'll probably exceed that goal. So
Not just chicken, but
yeah.
everything.
And that goes to the Monette building project,
Yes.
right?
Though actually what the agreement was, 70% goes to the building project of what they raised, 30% goes to the teen group, which I thought was more than fair.
Yes.
For their future programs.
Yeah.
I think it's great they want to help.
Yes.
They get
Yes, it
donations
is.
for that too. They have people donate for their teen programs. So it's kind of amazing.
And that's when you see TAG, that's the Teen Ambassador Group. That's what that means.
Wonderful.
As opposed to spray painting, it's not that.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Bada bing, bada boom. Hey, hour and 45 minutes.
We might want to do something special for them in the new building. Put their picture up or something since they helped this raise money.
Well, they'll get their tile for the donor wall too.
Oh, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a great place for the teens to meet too, because we'll have a lot of room over there. And then of course they can always use the conference room if they have more, but it's a great way for them to have a good place to meet too.
They want to fundraise. They want a Nintendo Switch and stuff like that. So I said, have at it. So
Okay. Well, we need a motion to adjourn, Mr.
So
Piter.
moved.
I
Who
second
seconds?
Katie.
Thank you, Katie. All in favor? Motion
Good to see
approved.
you all.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you
Have a
all.
good day.
Bye.
Thank you.
You
Bye
too.
bye.